Oh, how's it going, everybody? We're back for another edition of All In, where I'll pick a rock artist and I'll listen to the entire discography and I'll give my thoughts on it. So the rules kind of go like this. The band in question must have 5 or more original studio albums. Cover albums can count. Generally, I don't talk about live or acoustic albums, but if the tracks are original to the form, then I'll discuss it a little bit. So, here we go. So, I promised we're going to talk about a punk pop band. No, it's not going to be Blink-182, so sorry for those of you who are disappointed in that. We're going to talk about Sum 41. That's right, these guys. So, hailing from Ontario, Canada, yeah, some Canadian punk pop. Yeah. So, how did I get into them? I think I remember first hearing them on the radio. They had the song, what was their one song? In Too Deep, that was a popular one. Oh, I know what the song was that I first heard, Fat Lip. It goes da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Very popular song. And of course, if you watch the American Pie series, you might have heard a couple of their tracks on their first few movies they did, their first couple movies there. It's the punk pop was sort of like that little subgenre that was it kind of coexisted with like nu metal at the same time. They were sort of, yeah, you could compare them to like Blink-182 and maybe Green Day a little bit, but I don't know why I like these guys a lot better than those two bands. I don't know why, but I don't have any concert experiences with them or anything like that, so I never got to see them live. But I always loved listening to them like throughout all the 2000s. So they have a total of 8 studio albums, which they definitely meet the criteria. So they have All Killer No Filler back in 2001, all the way up to Heaven X Hell, which is a double album they did last year in 2024, as we are taping this. And supposedly, they're not going to be recording any more albums after this. I mean, this is it. They're going to tour one last time, and they're done. So, starting off, we do have All Killer No Filler, but we do have to talk about their EP the year before in 2000 called Half Hour of Power. And, I don't know, I'm thinking it might have been like a Canada release only. I never heard of them until All Killer No Filler came out. But I kind of like stepped back and listened to this one here recently, you know, just to hear what they sounded like even then. So we'll talk about this one first and then go into the main discography. So here we start off, track 1, Grab the Devil by the Horns and Fuck Him in the Ass. What the hell? What kind of track is that? And then you move on to Machine Gun, What I Believe, THT, and then we have Makes No Difference. Then we have the song Summer. Then we have 32 Ways to Die. Second Chance for Max Headroom. Dave's Possessed Hair. / What We're All About. Which we did hear. This is sort of a variation of a track they did for the Spider-Man soundtrack like a year or two later. So this is sort of like I guess you could say more of a raw version of that. Really cool track. We have Ride the Chariot to the Devil. Instrumental. Another Time Around, actual song ends. Yeah, I'm kind of reading like Wiki's deal here, but yeah, they managed to squeeze like 11 tracks into like 29 minutes, but just a real cool debut to it, you know. You know, I enjoyed it. It's one of those deals like, you know, they released it underground and I never heard it until now, but very cool to hear. So then we got to move on to their actual album debut, All Killer, No Filler. And I know they have like a couple of different variations of the CD art, but this is the one I got. So of course we have the introduction to Destruction. We have the song Nothing on My Back, real cool song. Never Wake Up, Fat Lip, that's the popular one. Rhythms, Motivation, another good one. In Too Deep, which when they did the music video to that, they sort of did like a two-parter. Like, you had In Too Deep and Pain for Pleasure as like one video. It was sort of like a two-part song. And then you got Summer, Handle This, Crazy Amanda, Bunk Face. That's kind of a weird song. All She's Got, Heart Attack, And of course, like I mentioned earlier, Pain for Pleasure. And Pain for Pleasure is sort of like, like most of the CDs like more alternative, but Pain for Pleasure sort of gives you like a punk metal vibe. Real cool way to end it. And of course, yeah, you got the CD there. God, I miss physical media. And yeah, I did get this from BMG, as this tag says right here. So, yeah, pretty good album. I liked it. So then we move on to Does This Look Infected? This album right here. And sort of like their sophomore album. And I feel like they really got a little bit heavier on this one, which I like. Of course, we start off with The Hell Song. Really good track. You got Over My Head, My Direction, Still Waiting, which was the breakout track to this. ANIC, which is like it's like a 45-second track, but it's like, it gives something like, you look like shit, you smell like shit, you're such a dick. Like, it's funny as hell. It's one of those rage songs when you're pissed off. Like, yeah, okay, so I feel like Sum 41's like the pissed off version of Blink-182. That's kind of how I feel about them. Then you got No Brains, All Messed Up, Mr. Amsterdam, Thanks for Nothing, Hyper Insomnia, Paracomeroid, that's a weird title, Billy Spleen, and Hooch. But yeah, real cool album art, love it. And then we move on to another album called Chuck, which came out in 2004, right here. So here we have the intro, and then we go to No Reason, real hard track. We're All to Blame, awesome track. Angels with Dirty Faces, Some Say it's sort of like a more mellow song, I guess. You got The Bitter End, Open Your Eyes, Slipping Away, I'm Not the One, Welcome to Hell, Pieces, Here's No Solution, and song 88. And if you happen to get the bonus cut, you also have the song Newts, which I didn't discover until recently. I got the non-bonus cut version of it. But I feel like this album and Does This Look Infected, these two albums are sort of like hand in hand with each other. Real heavy, real punkish, real pissed off. I love it. So then we move on to 2007's, was it Underclass? Yeah, Underclass Hero. And this is where I sort of fell off with them a little bit. Like, I got the album here, but I didn't really listen to it as much. But you got Underclass Hero, Walking Disaster, Speak of the Devil, Dear Father, Count Your Last Blessings, The Pupil, March of the Dogs, good song there, The Jester, another good one, With Me, Pull the Curtain, King of Contradiction, Best of Me, Confusion and Frustration of Modern Times, and So Long Goodbye. And also you have Look at Me, which is a hidden track. And as far as this particular album goes, this 2007. That's about the time I subscribed to Sirius XM, and I remember hearing this on channels like Faction, and they used to have the punk channel back then. This got a little bit of rotation on that, but I don't remember hearing any of this on like normal radio. So they were sort of phasing out of the mainstream a little bit by the time this came out, but I feel like they sort of like went a little more alternative on this one. I mean, it wasn't really my go-to or anything, but I didn't hate it either. So then we're moving on to the half of Sum 41 that I just now discovered. I sort of fell off after the album and never really listened to them again until recently. But here in 2011, we have Screaming Bloody Murder. So here we got Reason to Believe. Of course, the title track, Screaming Bloody Murder. We got Scumfuck. We have Time for You to Go, Jessica Kill, What Am I to Say, Holy Images of Lies, Sick of Everyone, and Happiness Machine, which it's like a 3-part Dark Road Out of Hell deal there. We have Crash, Blood in My Eyes, Baby You Don't Want to Know, Back Where I Belong, and Exit Song. And all in all, I didn't think it was a bad album at all. But like I said in the last video about like Bullet for My Valentine, I mean, these last 4 albums I probably need more time to like listen to them, get more familiar with them. But we'll move on to 2016's 13 Voices. And so here we have A Murder of Crows, Goddamn I'm Dead Again, Fake My Own Death, Breaking the Chain, There Will Be Blood, 13 Voices, War, no, not a System of a Down cover. We have God Save Us All, Death of P.O.P., or Death to P.O.P., sorry. And then we have The Fall and the Rise, Twisted by Design, and if you get the bonus edition, you have Better Days and Black Eyes. And then moving on, we have 2019's Order in Decline. And so here we have Turning Away, Out for Blood, which was a single off of this, New Sensation, The New Sensation. No, it's not an NXS song, totally their own material. We have A Death in the Family, Heads Will Roll, 45, A Matter of Time, Never There, not a Cake cover, Eat You Alive, not a Limp Bizkit cover. We have The People Versus and Catching Fire. And then, moving on, I did actually listen to this album a little bit here. Heaven X Hell, their newest album from 2024. They did sort of like a double deal where like Disc 1 is Heaven, Disc 2 is Hell. And to be honest with you, I thought it was pretty cool. I liked the album. You know, I downloaded the whole thing. I listened to it a few times. So we'll start off with Waiting on a Twist of Fate, Landmines. Yeah, I feel like Landmines was like the standout track to this. Real good song. Loved it. You have I Can't Wait, Time Won't Wait, Future Primitive, Dopamine, Not Quite Myself, Bad Mistake, Johnny Lipperding, Radio Silence, and then we move on to the other half of the album, Disc 2, the Hell Disc. We have Paparazzi, Salaur, Rise Up, Stranger in These Times, I Don't Need Anyone, Over the Edge, House of Liars, You Wanted War, and they did a cover of Rolling Stone's Paint It Black. Real cool cover. And then we have It's All Me and How the End Begins. And I guess this would be the end of their discography, you know, if they're sort of keeping with what they said there. But, yeah, not a bad album at all. They sort of stuck to their roots on this one. I feel like Heaven is more the alternative half of the album. Hell's the more metal version of it, I guess. But yeah, definitely a good album to check out if you want to check out something different for 2024. I didn't think these guys were actually still around until I heard this. Or I think I saw it on YouTube or something, and it's like, oh, this sounds pretty good. So I just went ahead and downloaded it, and then I sort of like stepped back to like the more, like the 3 more recent ones before that. So yeah, Sum 41, definitely a good band. We got to do ratings yet before we get off here and move on to the next. Ratings. How do we want to break this up? I so wish I would have seen them in concert. They were cool. So 8 albums. How do we do this? Okay, so we're just gonna split it right directly in half. So 2000 Sum 41 and 2010s till now. That's how we'll do it. So as far as the 2000s go, my least favorite hands down was Underclass Hero. Yeah, I have the album, but I really didn't. It really wasn't a go-to. I wasn't a big fan of it, so didn't hate it, but didn't love it either. As far as my favorite goes, I'm probably going to say Does This Look Infected? They were pissed off on that album. I love that. Sort of a mad version of Blink-182, I think. But, like, Chuck and All Killer No Filler, both great albums. They were a close second and third. So, yeah, definitely that era was awesome. As far as 2010s until now, my favorite, probably Heaven X Hell. They really, I think they got back into, like, their old form with that one. You know, sort of, you know, a throwback, if you will. My least favorite, well, I think the other three albums, I need to listen to them a little bit more and form more opinions on them. Didn't hate them or anything. So I'm not really going to rate the other three. I'm just going to say, like, Heaven XL is my favorite in that era, so yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed my review on Canadian punk pop. I gotta quit drinking. Punk pop. That's what I meant to say. So, next time, we're gonna do sort of a parody band, if you will. And what do I mean? What do I mean by a parody type of band? No, not Weird Al. We did his stuff. We already did that one. No, what I mean by parody is sort of like a parody of a genre, but with more crude lyrics. Find out who it is next.